I'll be teaching you today how to make groundnut stew. Yes, groundnut stew, not groundnut soup. Don't worry, I'll walk you through the step. So in my bowl, I have about 20 medium-sized tomatoes, about 20, followed by 200 grams tomato mix. I'm using this brand, Kivo. Yes. Then in another bowl, I have onions, garlic, ginger, which I'll be using later in the stew. 3.5 medium-sized onions, one bulb of garlic, about 3.5 thumb-sized ginger roots. Yes, I think I got the measurements almost right. But always keep in mind that the spice, it's up to you how much you can tolerate. In another bowl, I have scotch bonnet pepper for the heat as well as the flavor. I have granite paste, about a quarter of a cup, 2 eggs. Then in this bowl, I have fish that came out of the freezer. I don't know the name of fish, but I use them in cooking. So onto our flame, our saucepan goes. Into our saucepan, I add margarine. And to the margarine, I add the tomato mix, which I made mention of earlier. It's important to cook your tomato mix adequately before you add any more ingredients. To know when it's the right time to add any more ingredients, you just have to look at it. So during the initial stages of cooking the tomato mix, you would notice that the bubbles that you see coming on the surface are more and they seem more vigorous or they seem more energetic. But as they cook or as it cooks, the amount of bubbles starts to reduce and they seem less energetic. You would see this very soon, or you can pause the video and compare. You can pause the video, skip forward, and come back and take a look at the difference. You'd realize that during the initial stages of cooking the tomato mix, the bubbles were more vigorous and the bubbles were more as compared to when it's okay to add more ingredients. So at this point, you don't have that much bubbles. So I should add the next ingredients very soon. The next ingredient I'm going to add is my blended up. I forgot to show that, but I blended up tomatoes, my fresh tomatoes, and that is what is going to go into the pots, and I'm going to allow this to cook for some time. So I'm just transferring the tomatoes into the pan to allow it to cook. So what I'm doing at this point is breaking up the fish that came out of the freezer into the pan. In the pan we have margarine, tomato mix, and fresh tomatoes, which is cooking. So I put the fish in there to defrost and allow it to take on the flavor of the ingredients in the pan. Basically, there isn't any special reason why I'm doing this. Then I cover it and work on my aromatics. So into my blend I have my onions, garlic, ginger, which I showed earlier, but I'm going to add some more spice. So I have this spice. I'm using 1 tablespoon. We call it inkitinkiti and tree. I think that's aniseed in English. Then I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of rosemary. So I always like to use this brew. If I'm using 1 tablespoon of inkitinkiti or aniseed, I'll use 2 tablespoons of rosemary to balance things out. And I think I added about 6 cloves, just 6 cloves. Since they're very powerful, I don't use that much, and I added some amount of oil to help me blend this thing. I didn't add water, I just use oil in blending it up. And it didn't take much for the blender to do its job, and yep, we're done. So after my blended up spices have gone into the stew, I rinse the blender with just a little bit of water. I don't use that much water. Then I pour that. After rinsing out the blender, I pour the content into the stew on fire. Stir it. Make sure everything is well combined. Then I would later cover it and work on some more ingredients. So as the stew is cooking, I'm going to mix my peanut butter with water. I'm going to make it somewhat slurry. Oh, I'm going to make it watery. Let me use that word. I'm going to make it watery, but I'm not just going to add water. I would rinse the blender some more with water, so at least I would get almost everything right in the blender. And I will add water till I get to the consistency which you see on your screen. So I didn't measure the amount of water I added, but I kept on adding it bit by bit till I got to that point. Then when I got to that point, I cracked the first egg into it, gave it a mix, then the second egg. But I would advise that you crack the eggs separately in a different bowl, so that if the egg is spoiled, it doesn't ruin what you're doing. So at this point, I'll check up on my stew. Since we were doing something else, I'll check out my stew, stir it, then I would later pour the peanut butter mixture into the stew, rinse the bowl with water, cover it, lower the flame. It's very important. You have to lower the flame and allow it to cook. Well, the stew is almost done, but you have to lower the flame since you wouldn't be stirring much. Well, since this video is sped up, so you see me stirring, but initially when it went in there, I didn't stir it. I covered it for some time before I stirred it. So it's something you have to take notes. When the peanut butter mixture goes in there, you lower the flame, you cover the pot, then you allow it to cook gently before you stir. So when the peanut butter mixture which you added to the stew starts to thicken, you know your stew is almost ready, and so what you're left with is to season with salt. You can add just salt and your stew will turn out well, or if you want to, you can add salt and some amount of bouillon seasoning or Maggi or onga. Any bouillon seasoning which you get or cube seasoning which you get would be fine. Stir to combine everything. You shouldn't see streaks or pockets of cube seasoning. No, everything should be mixed together, and that is it. If you decide to add anything else like onions, bell peppers, it's just for presentation. Your stew is done, so I added some onions to my stew on fire. Just some onions to it. That is all. I didn't add anything else. That was it. Okay, so at this point, since our stew is ready, all we need to do is to serve it into our plates and enjoy with rice or whatever you want to enjoy with. You can enjoy with yam. I have had this tea with rice with yam. That is it, and serve it into your plate, and I guess you can just keep on staring at it, tilting it to see if the angle is right, and enjoy.